Hi everyone, welcome to ELI, the place where you get your daily dose of inspiration for entrepreneurship. And today we have with us Mr. Rishabh Verma, a very energetic and young entrepreneur who is the co-founder of UrbanMatrix technology, which is manufacturing reliable industrial grade drones for survey, agriculture, inspection, and defense. Rishabh is a graduate of IIT Madras and had started this venture back in 2018. Hi Rishabh, welcome to ELI.
Hi Priya, thank you so much for having me. Very excited for this interview.
Rishabh, I would request you to introduce yourself to our audience, please.
Hi guys, I'm Rishabh Verma. I'm the co-founder of UrbanMatrix Technologies. And what we are doing is we are bringing the drone technology for Indian industries, and we are developing drone solutions from scratch, and we are manufacturing some custom-based drones which can be very useful for a lot of industries. Especially agriculture, survey, and inspection and defense.
Okay. Uh, Tell us more about UrbanMatrix. Like how many employees are there, and what is the scale of operation? Who are the clients and all?
So right now, UrbanMatrix has three full-time employees. Basically, we all are graduated from IIT Madras, and we have around two part-time people working with us on various software-based solutions, and we have around four or five people on the ground team for survey work. So right now, as a startup, we are doing survey work for Tamil Nadu government using drones, and we are parallelly developing our own product called Versato. That's a drone which is a very compact and small size drone with a very good sensor, very good camera, which can be replaced with thermal camera, INDR camera, or any other different kind of sensors like LiDAR. And this particular drone Versato we are designing for a flight time of around 35 minutes. So that is the basic idea, a very powerful sensor with a very powerful battery so that it can fly for considerable time. And we are working on Versato parallelly right now, and we are doing some survey work as well.
Okay. Rishabh, drone as an industry, it's a very rapidly growing industry, and many companies are coming into this space. And some of the amazing experiments happening out there, like Amazon is delivering the final mile delivery through drones. And like you mentioned, a lot of survey and inspection work is also happening via drones. Can you tell us a few such of the examples, like what are the crazy things happening around in your industry?
So yeah, I mean, around 5 years back, very few people knew about drones, and the only way they knew about drones was American Army drones. So from there towards consumer drones, the journey has been fantastic, and people have realized the potential of drones. With the potential of an eye in the camera, they can do a lot of things if they can have that kind of perspective. So that realization was very quick, not only in India but worldwide. So in the last past around 5 years, we have seen a huge shift from consumer-based drones, which were basically toy drones, more or less, and they were used for just videography and photography, towards industrial grade drones and industrial applications like survey and inspection of solar panels, inspection of windmills, inspection of pipelines from these drones. And these applications grew so rapidly that now there are around 100 different applications of drones in India, which are being developed, and a lot of people are using those drones for those applications. So the growth is fabulous in those 5 years. And some interesting applications which we will see in near future is first of all delivery, as you mentioned. A lot of people in India are also working on delivery. Delivery will make things really fast, and in future eventually cheaper as well. So delivery of not just goods, which Amazon is trying to do in US, but delivery of essentials like blood samples from villages, like blood itself to various villages or remote areas, or medical supplies to remote areas, or areas where the disaster has happened, some sort of disaster, and you need to provide some medical relief. These kind of applications are essential. They can save life, and the only way to do that is drones. You cannot go in a remote area by any other means. So the drone becomes a very cheap and very reliable solution for such problems. So that is something very interesting. I'm seeing that will grow, and in couple of years we will see these deliveries for essential items at least happening in India. Another application which I'm very interested is, now which a lot of people don't know about, but after Corona, I guess that become popular, is spraying drones. So agriculture is a very big part of our country, and spraying is another big issue for agriculture. Every crop needs to be sprayed some certain kind of chemical or nutrient or whatever. The problem comes in when you spray it manually. When a person goes into the farm with a tank of 10 liters of 20 liters and spray it manually, what happens is it becomes a very tedious process. It takes around 2 to 4 hours to complete 1 acre of land manually. What drones can do is you can fit a big tank on a drone, fly it, and then spray it along the way. So by that you can reduce that 2 to 4 hours of manual time to just 5 minutes. You can spray 1 acre of land in under 5 minutes. So they are really fast and reliable because you can rely on the spray pattern which they are creating. These two applications are really interesting, and I think we haven't seen the kind of growth which uh, should be there in these two applications. Apart from it, there are a lot of applications which are getting common and which are proving themselves.
Interesting, really interesting. Rishabh, now tell us, when I see you, I still see a college kid. You mentioned you just graduated and you're very young, and a lot of runway you have to do mistakes and pivot your models and do experiments. Tell us, when did you think of becoming an entrepreneur? When the idea came to you?
So idea came to me when I was in my first year, and somebody from IIT Roorkee came to our college, and they they were basically having a company, and the CEO was giving a speech, and he told us that entrepreneurship is this and that, and it's not easy, and you will cry in the way. He was a very interesting person, very energetic person, but this is what he told us, that you will cry in the way because it's not easy to build something from scratch. There are a lot of problems which you will face, and you don't know how to solve those problems at the time, and that is very challenging. Taking a job will be easier. uh, you have some cushions and everything like that in a corporate culture or in a job environment. So at that point of time, I realized that after working so hard for getting into IIT, what I really want to do is not working for another corporate. I want to build some solutions for the society, for the market, and that is what is my driving force. So I started looking for problems around me, and I didn't have any idea at that point of time. Then I started looking for problems, and eventually in my second year I gave up because there were so many small problems, and I couldn't understand how to start from scratch to solve those problems, because I don't have any coding skill set or interest in coding. So those applications which required coding solutions were out of question. My friends were not very enthusiastic about it. So the people who knew coding, and I knew them, they were like, that's fine, but we are busy with something else. So it was a difficult time to start from scratch. But eventually I started working on a drone, which was crash resistance, a fixed wing drone, which is basically a small aeroplane. And we developed it in second year, and from there I started my journey. And that was kind of my first prototype, and taught me a lot of things on the way. And from there to here, we changed a lot. We faced a lot of hurdles, but ultimately now we are focused and we know what to do. This took a lot of time, and I'm glad that I started early, so that I can have a now I have a better understanding of things.
Okay, Rishabh, tell me why IIT produces so many entrepreneurs every year. What is it about IIT, especially for IIT Madras, IIT Roorkee, and IIT Bombay? I see a lot of entrepreneurs coming from these 4 or 5 institutes. What is it about the IITs?
I think there are two parts to this question. First is the infrastructure provided by these colleges. So these colleges are funded by central government, and they're funded really good compared to any other colleges in India. So what happens is there is a good ecosystem which is established there. There's a good ecosystem which has been established by a lot of really good people. Like IIT Madras has the IIT Madras Research Park, where there are a lot of companies and startups and incubation cells. Similarly, all IITs now have incubation cells which are really great, which are providing students an opportunity to come with zero money, just their hard work, and they will provide them funds, seed funds or pre-seed funds. They will provide them lab. They will provide them a place to do research work. They can collaborate with their professors who are working on really good research work, and they can use the lab facilities and create something in terms of a unique product or unique solution. And prototyping is also becoming easy. So the thing is, the ecosystem provided by these institutes provides you fund, provides you access to labs, provides you incubation cell facilities, and combining all these three, for example, IIT Madras has Center for Innovation. It's a student-run innovation program where students can go walk into a workshop and create anything which they want, anything, and their seniors will support them in that, and there will be some sort of funding help from the institute as well. So the point is, these three things which are being provided by these institutes uh, uh, plays a very big role in the ecosystem part. So at a college level, you can start easily. And second part is about the students also. So these kids who are coming into these colleges are really hardworking, no doubt about it. But apart from it, they're really logical and smart also, so that they learn very quickly from their mistakes. So these two things which I have seen are very common. That is constant across all the IITs which provide such ecosystems, especially the older IITs, and I think similar situation in IIM also. So these two things are the majority reason for the trend, I guess.
Right. Uh, Rishabh, I'd like to know how do you fund your operations right now? I think you have got a team of about 10 people, and also uh, building drone requires some equipment. Uh, how do you fund the operations?
So I fund my operations by basically we are generating some revenue from these services which we are providing. That revenue is not much, but we are able to survive at this point of time, and uh, support our all the people who are working with us. Apart from it, we have won some national competitions, and we have won some grant money also. So that is also very helpful at this point of time. Apart from that, we have not raised a seed round yet. So we are just waiting to develop a product first, at least a beta type prototype, and then go to for a seed round. Till then, we have enough money to develop that prototype and to test it in the uh, in industry, and then get the results, and then go and ask for the seed. So that is the plan for now. And another thing is, we are not eating in fancy restaurants now anymore, uh,
Mm.
because of COVID maybe, and that's a good thing. So we are saving a lot of money. We are not spending much, so it's really easy to spend a lot of money as a bachelor, and it's easy not to spend a lot of money as a bachelor. So our spendings are very limited, and our revenue is enough to support us at this point of time.
Rishabh, have you ever pitched investors for funding?
I have done that couple of times, but I was not very focused at that time as to what I'm exactly doing. Uh, Now that I'm very focused, I'm not
Hmm.
pitching it to investors. Uh, uh, I have been to Stanford University, USA, last year, I guess. Yeah, and there I pitched to like the top Silicon Valley investors, VCs, and that was kind of a competition with around 35 people across the world who comes there and pitch their ideas to those people, and I won that competition also. So I realized pitching is an art, and it takes time to understand how to pitch exactly, because you have to understand. Uh, it's not about your idea, it's not about you, it's about the person who is hearing your pitch.
Hmm.
They have to understand, so you have to talk in terms of their perspective. So that is something which is difficult for people, because nobody teaches us to talk in those terms. In school, nobody teaches us that you should talk in such a manner that it should be accepted by the other person. It's not like what you have to tell, and it's the other way around.
Hmm.
So that is something very important, and I learned that for it took a long time for me to learn that, but that's what happened, and right now we are not pitching as of now.
Rishabh, tell me some of the funny experiences you have had with investors.
So I haven't interacted with investors a lot of time, but what happened one time was I was in second year, I guess, and there was this investor who came, and I was pitching, and then a lot of people were pitching in that room. So he liked my idea. He gave me some advices, and those advices, and then it was all okay. I mean, we all went back to our places, and we didn't won that competition. So what happened was, a couple of months later on, the same there was another competition which I was taking part in, and I was pitching something entirely different. And it's not possible in 2 months to pitch something different. But I was working on two projects, so I was just taking part in competitions, and I was very very hopeful to win that competition, because the idea was really great, and you just have to pitch it. And so I was ready, and I was very confident, and then I went into the pitching room, and the first person I saw was that same person. And so I was like, now it's not possible to win, because this person knows me, and it's he knows that what I'm doing earlier, and now I'm doing something else, and he will just and that exactly same thing happened. He asked me, I know you, and what is this, what are you doing this now, and why so sudden change, and you're telling me that you are doing this for a long time. How is that possible? We just met 2 months ago. So that was kind of a little bit embarrassing. Apart from it, I think VCs are very nice people, and they're very smart in terms of what they want. I have some interactions with VCs who don't understand the tech. So, so there was one VC who told me, agricultural drones will not work at all.
Okay.
So I was pitching agricultural drones to him for spraying purposes, and he told me it will not work. So I tried to explain him the scientific way it will work, and these are the reasons. And China has done it, and China has sprayed 30 million hectares in 3 years. So he told me no, it will not work. So he's sometimes these things happens, because they are not technical people. It's difficult if you are a tech startup to pitch in terms of technology, and yeah.
Okay. Rishabh, do you have any co-founders in your Rishabh? Over time, you would have recruited many people into your venture, be it co-founders or be it employees. Tell me what do you see in a person when you recruit them? What kind of people you recruit into your venture?
you start to build a team from scratch. Nobody know what is going on, and then you have to pitch in everybody and tell them this is what we are doing, and then they will learn their roles and they will grow in the ecosystem. And then ultimately it if they decide to leave for some other reasons, because in college what happens is students are really dynamic. They don't stick to one thing for a long time, so it becomes very difficult for you to replace them. So both recruitment and letting go of people, both of these things are extremely difficult for me personally. This is what I've realized. And to get very good people, it's really difficult. So how I go about it is, in first interview, it's really difficult to judge a person. At least from whatever experiences I had in my life, it's difficult for me at this point of time to judge another people just from an interview. So I've seen that it's not reliable to just judge a person on the base of their resumes or just one interview or a talk. Instead, what I do is I try to do a background check, ask about their interest and everything else, and their work ethics and so from the other people. So this way it becomes more easier for me to trust them, and it works in a better way also. Another thing is people who are genuinely interested in what you are doing and are hardworking, they are the ones who will stick with you. So people, you will find people who are genuinely interested but they're not hardworking, and that becomes a huge problem in very short time. So you have to make sure that people are interested but they're also hardworking. Passion will not just drive you very far if you are not working for it. So so this is the quality which I see in people, that they have done really good work and they're hardworking, and they're passionate about it. Rest of these things will come, and they can develop it. But as a recruiter, you have to see for a specific skill set, and then see if people are really hardworking in that particular skill set. You don't need a person who is perfect. It's not possible. There will be some kind of flaws in every single person you hire, but you have to work around those flaws if they are really good at what you have hired them for. So this is the way I go about recruiting people. About my professors and the relationships which I had with my mentors, it's again very very important for anybody who is starting out there. uh, he needs to have lot of you know people telling him what to do, lot of experienced people telling him what to do. So that is very important. And it's always wise to surround yourself with people who have better experiences. Ask them for help, ask them for advices, and so I was very fortunate that I had some really good people around me to support me and advise me when I was down. But ultimately they will just advise you. It's like they will give you a small stick when you are stuck in water. You have to do the rest. So that is also there. In terms of investors and all, as I mentioned, I haven't really had a very long term relationship with investors so far, because I haven't raised money, they haven't given me money.
Okay.
Once that is done, only then I can really talk about that part.
Okay.
So yeah.
Rishabh, tell us what is your vision with the venture you are building?
So our vision is very clear. We are drone manufacturing companies, and we are providing drone-based solutions, end-to-end solutions. So what we want to do is we want to tap into those industries which are unique, which needs custom-based solutions, as well as those industries which are which needs this particular technology for a mass scale. For example, if you have to map the whole India, that is the project which Survey of India came up with using drones. So those kind of ambitious projects require a lot of drones and a lot of skilled pilots. So point is that these kind of industries which require drones at a very large scale, agriculture industry, survey industry, we want to tap into those industries, and in 5 to 6 years we want to become, top drone manufacturers and service providers in India. And then again with India, we are also targeting Southeast Asian countries and African countries where the economy is similar. And after that, we are planning to expand it towards bigger markets like America, Australia, Europe. But that is not our starting goal. Our starting goal is to capture our market, Indian market, then Southeast Asian, African markets, and then other markets.
Okay. Rishabh, while graduating, I think many of your peers would have joined corporates with some really good paychecks as well. And
All of them.
okay, tell us what is the difference you have found between a full-time job and between a life of entrepreneur.
So I was fortunate enough in my third year to make a decision to go to a corporate and work there for a couple of months as an intern. So I was in Gurgaon working for them, and it was proper corporate environment. So that gave me a very good understanding, at least a enough understanding to make a decision not to go there. So the idea was, you have to work in teams, you have to follow uh, the rules and the timelines and the goals provided by your seniors, by your managers, and that is how corporate works. And it's a good system, it's effective, but for an individual who wants to do something more, it's kind of it might be suffocating. And that's what I felt about myself, that I'm not someone who will fit into such a role. And it's getting suffocating for me in these 2 months. Then it's difficult for me to see a job and go about it for years and years. So the point is, I was always surrounded by people in IIT Madras who were entrepreneurs. And basically, there are a lot of successful stories from IIT Madras and other colleges as well. Anna University is there in Chennai, who is doing really good work in drones. So I was surrounded by that kind of ecosystem, and it was intentional. I worked for it so that I'm there. So that gave me a very good confidence that I can leave that kind of job culture, and there is a better life, there is a better fulfilling work which I can do, and I can survive with that work and grow, maybe even in few years I can easily say that that package is something which I can leave. So that is the idea, that you have to struggle initially. You have to leave your that package and your financial dreams and all those things. But in long run, it's like an investment. So the returns will come back, and they will come back really, really in a good manner. So the returns are very high. You are investing in yourself. This is a simple investment game, nothing else. You're investing in yourself, your team, and your investors, and then the return will be really great, so that you can compensate with whatever you have sacrificed initially.
Okay. Uh, Tell us what are the challenges you have faced along the way while building and growing this venture, and maybe you can throw some light on customer acquisition part. I think you have been saying a lot about the technology part, but how do you acquire the customers? I think that would be a challenging thing as well.
Definitely. So when we started building a drone, we made a mistake. We never went to a customer and asked him what is your problem, and we will build a solution. We just built a solution, and we were going to customers, and we were asking, you want this or not, you want this or not. So the answer was no, we don't want this. So that is a mistake which a lot of tech people do. And the mistake is they build something in their college, or in some competition, and then they go to customers to sell that particular piece of whatever they have created. That's the wrong way. you have to start with customers. So you know that this is my technology domain, this is what I understand, this is what I can create. You are not limited with that knowledge. You can find a partner and you can expand that knowledge. You can find someone to build something for you. If you don't know how to build a website or a platform, that's fine. The point is you have to understand that ultimately uh, you have to start with a strong uh, passion towards the problem. So you have to identify a problem around you or wherever you are looking for the problem. You have to relate with it. Okay, I can relate with the problem, and it's a very big problem. And then you have to work the economics around it. Okay, this problem is big, and if I solve this problem, there will be a good, potential for growing up as a company. There will be a good potential for money, in terms of money for my investors and for myself and my team. And then you have to work for solution. After those two steps you have to work for solution. Okay, now that money works, and now that problem is solid, and I have spoken to a lot of people and the problem is real, they are facing this problem, and it's a big problem. Then you have to go and find about solution. So this is what I learned initially, and then second lesson I will share with you is about making relationships. So networking is very, very important for a young entrepreneur. Try to network on LinkedIn, try to network on, various summits or various these you know events and things like that, and try to connect with people, talk to them, and expand your network. That's extremely important. They will help you in a lot of ways which you don't understand now in future. So try to build meaningful relationships without just the sole purpose of gaining something out of that relationship, but with the interest and curiosity that I have to understand the ecosystem, and you know but from the passion of it. And that is my second advice. Apart from those two, I think third advice would be, you will fail a lot. You will stuck in a situations where there is no hope, there is no money involved in it, there is no future you can see at that point of time from what you are doing. You will stuck into such situations. Somebody will tell you it's your product is bullshit, it will never work. So those lows in the journey will be there, and they will hit you very hard if you have not faced such similar situations in your life. So how you have to answer those situations is not by giving up. So a lot of people, what they do is they give up at that point of time. So that is extremely important. At those times you have to be patient. You have to believe that things will work out in some way, and I will not give up. Just that belief is it's really a belief. There's nothing apart from belief which can help you at that point of time. And you have to believe that I have to be patient, keep working, and things will change, and I will see a way. I will see a way to go towards to. So so that is the nature which we need in young entrepreneurs. they the giving up is very easy, and sometimes it's the only choice people think they have, but that's not the case. You don't want to give up. You have to bounce back. Bouncing back is the key. So apart from how smart you are, how wealthy you are, how well connected you are, all these things comes later. Your bouncing back ability is the key factor which will uh, help you succeed whatever is the situation. You have to keep believing in your thing and keep working towards it. Once you are generating revenue, you will support yourself, and then you support your uh, team, and so. But if it's been too long, for years and years you are not able to generate revenue and you have financial obligations, then maybe it's time to call it out or try something else. But don't give up unless and until it's absolutely necessary to give up, and you can't survive at all after without giving up. Yeah.
Rishabh, these are beautiful words coming out of such a young entrepreneur like you. And I'm really amazed to see the level of maturity you have gained. Uh, on that note, Rishabh, I think we are almost up with the time, and I would like to close this session. But one last question: how would you suggest our audience, whom are potential entrepreneurs, to start their journey? How do they get started?
Starting is very, 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 very difficult because you don't know what to do. So focus is not there at all. There are so many aspects uh, when you start off. There are so many aspects to look forward to. There is one marketing side to it. There is one product validation, product development, and then funds. You have to manage your funds. There are so many things which are there. So don't worry about any of these things. Focus on one thing and one thing only: the problem. And you don't have to have a big team to start off, a lot of money to start off, a lot of understanding, technical knowledge to start off, or business knowledge to start off. Don't worry about any of these things. Start with a simple agenda that I want to understand the problem. Start with that agenda that I want to understand this problem. If you have already identified the problem around you and you want to solve it, then try to go deeper into that problem. What is that problem? Who are facing this problem? Who are these people? What is their behavior of these people who are facing this problem? How much they can spend? Are they poor? Are they rich? Then go towards, in India, how many percentage of people are facing this problem? What is my market? Who will buy this solution ultimately? Are they industrial people? Are they consumers? And it's an Indian market based problem, or it's like global problem, or different countries are also facing similar problems. So try to work around the problem, understand it, use Google, do research about it, understand the problem, give it some numbers that these many people are having this problem. And then next, go and find out the competitors around it who are solving similar problem or the same problem, and understand them, how they are solving it, how big they are, how old they are. These aspects of about your competitors are very important initially to understand, what is going on. So when Google was built, it was, I guess, 21st search engine at that point of time. It was not the first search engine. So you have to study rest 20 search engines to become the 21st search engines. Otherwise, it's arrogant to just start without understanding who are the other players who are doing the similar work. So try to understand your competition. After problem understanding, competitor understanding, then understand the economics of it. If money is working or not. If I charge my customers this much, will they pay? Or if I charge what my competitor is charging to my customers. So that will tell you, you can scale up and you can build a really good business and start up with certain revenue potential. And then when you have that confidence, pitch this idea to different people to build a team. When you have these three things done, only then you will have that confidence to pitch to other people, and numbers to pitch to other people, data to pitch to other people. So gather the data, start from small. To gather this data, you don't need to spend a single penny apart from internet charges, I guess. And get uh, this pitch ready, rough pitch ready, and tell them this is the problem and this is how people are solving it, this is how I want to solve it, and this is the money around it. And then somebody will see a potential in that, and join your team, and try to tell it to a lot of people. And don't start just building out a solution just single-handedly. After this exercise, build a small team and then start working on a solution. If you think you can manage and pull off a solution by yourself, great. But it's advisable to get some people around you as well, because you will not lose perspective if you have a couple of people around you. And then talk to mentors, talk to senior people in the same industry, tell them, sir, I'm doing this, and I want your help and advice and your feedback on what I'm doing. And anybody, you can approach anybody today. It's that simple. And from there, grow your your network, and talk to a lot of people, and start building your team, and slowly uh, you know, when you're the basics are right, those three things are right: problem, competitors, solution, and your finances, your economics of the solution which you are providing. If those fundamental things are right and they're working, I think it becomes very easier to start off after that. So yeah, that's my advice for anybody who is trying to start up fresh.
Well, these are some of the great lessons even I have ever heard. Thanks for your time, and we really enjoyed this session, Rishabh. I'd like to wish you best for your venture, and may I see you in lot of forums in coming days. Uh,
Thank you
Thank.
so much, Priya. I mean, it was great talking to you, and I hope that, you know, somebody out there will be, you know, motivated or see some seek some answers from this interview. And it was a great, it is a great initiative by yourself, and I mean, you are also working really hard to, you know, edit these videos and put them on YouTube and market them, and with the hope that somebody will be benefited. That's a wonderful gesture, and I'm really proud what you are doing.
Thank you. Thank you, Rishabh. Viewers, you can follow and connect with Rishabh on LinkedIn by searching for Rishabh Verma. Do let me know whom do you want to have here at ELI for next episode. We'll be back. Stay tuned to ELI.